How's it going, guys? Welcome in. So we're going to go ahead and talk about day one of Worlds 2015. Very exciting day. Very day full of upsets and full of close matches and a lot of things that people didn't really expect to happen. Uh, Personally speaking, the matches went pretty much what I assumed would happen, and the matches that did end up in upsets I thought were possible, and I wasn't really sure about. If you go back and watch the preview video that I did, I talk about it more there. But I wanted to go ahead and spend some time to talk about all of the games, just for at least a couple of minutes each apiece. So game one, we had Fnatic against Invictus. Personally speaking, I thought Invictus would come out swinging and do really well. I thought Kakao was going to have a really huge impact. It started with the drafting phase. Invictus had a very strong comp, in my opinion. It was just a very risky comp. They ended up getting Riven, Skarner, Victor, Ashe, and Thresh, which are all very solid, strong champions. Ashe was a little bit of a surprise, but I could see why, just with the play style here, that Kid and Kitties like to play that sort of safer lane when they have Zatai, Kakao, and Rookie being the real playmakers. They usually have to stay in the back and do consistent damage and keep kids safe. So I like the Ashe pick there. On the other side, we had Fnatic picking Hecarim, Elise, Azir, Sivir, and then a support Shen for Yellowstar. The support Shen was, in my opinion, the big difference maker and the huge curveball in this entire comp. Invictus's main goal with this composition is to get ahead early, first thing, and second to get picks, right? With the Skarner, the Riven, the Ashe, being able to blow people up with Victor, all that kind of stuff. They're very pick reliant and very reliant on snowballing and getting ahead. And so what the Shen pick allowed them to do was to make it so that no target could get blasted, right? Because you had that Stand United there to go ahead and keep them safe. And then it also gives you a double teleport option because you do have teleport on the Hecarim as well. And it also gives you a very beefy front line where on the side of Invictus, there really is no tank line, and I thought that was the major issue. They just didn't have the tank pressure or the tank line there to protect the Victor and the Ashe. So I thought that was a problem. IG pulled a lane swap and really messed it up. They miscalculated turret damage and just completely flubbed the lane swap, which I thought really hurt Kakao, because Kakao's a jungler that relies a lot on getting far ahead of the opposing jungler and then putting on a lot of pressure, and he wasn't able to do that because of the way the lane swaps worked out. So I thought that was a very poor choice on their part. And so they got rather rolled by Fnatic, and so I thought that was always a possibility. I thought these two teams are actually really close, and I still think they are. I think it was more of a showing that Invictus didn't play their comp correctly or mispicked against Fnatic, more so than it is Fnatic being strong. Although I still think Fnatic is a strong team, and they should do really well at Worlds, or throughout this entire event. I just don't think it's that as big of a gap between the two teams as was shown in this game. Now we have the big upset of the day, which was Cloud9 versus AHQ. I thought AHQ would have this pretty easily, and C9 actually took it the other way pretty easily. AHQ looked good really early in the game. Ziv was dominating balls up top, just kind of all kinds of pressure. And On and Albus were doing very well against Sneaky and Lemonation. Westor and Mountain were trying to get things going, just kept missing. And the big sort of wild card here, if you want to call it that, was Incarnation picked Veigar, and it just looked like AHQ did not know how to play against Veigar. It was just so apparent that they had no idea sort of what to do, and the Veigar kind of worked in C9's favor in terms of just comp, because you have a Fizz, a Rengar, and a Darius, as well as a Braum and a Kalista that all want to kind of jump around and be very mobile. And the Veigar pick, along with the Gangplank and the Morgana, all of that kind of CC and spacing ability just took AHQ completely out of their game. and allowed Sneaky to go ahead and roll face around his keyboard and just kind of get kills all over the place. So yeah, C9 ended up rolling that game, but again, I think it was more. I do really credit C9 for coming up with that comp and really reacting to what AHQ was doing very, very well. But I don't think that's really any indication of the strength of these two teams. I still think AHQ is a strong team. I still think they're stronger than C9. I just think C9 had the better comp and AHQ wasn't prepared for it. So I expect them to be better prepared when they play them again. And I'd have to see how C9 does the rest of the tournament. But I really don't have high hopes for them. So next we had SK Telecom against H2K. Obviously SK Telecom were pretty easily smashing that game. Lulix just looked terrible. I honestly don't see how he's like a world-class jungler. Also, they allowed... so before this, it's a really interesting thing. Everyone came into it thinking Juggernauts are very strong, as well as Gangplank and Fiora. Fiora wasn't picked or banned in any game before this one, and in this one, Marin got Fiora and absolutely destroyed and showed how strong that champion is. The comp was strange as well for SKT. They had a Fiora, Elise, Azir, Tristana, and Alistar, which, in my opinion, is more of an easy Hoon comp. Azir, to me, is more of an easy Hoon style of a champion. Faker did look like he got a little bit cocky and got caught out in certain situations, things like that. But overall, the game was really never in doubt. Even though the gold was relatively close throughout the entire match, at least towards the end of it when they started to snowball really hard, the game was relatively close, but SKT was in control the entire game. It obviously wasn't as close as the score indicated at the time. You can just kind of tell. After that was Edward Gaming against Bangkok Titans. Nothing really much to say other than that game was a stomp. Def got super far ahead. He got 3 kills, I think, in the first 4 minutes or so on a Jinx, on a snowbally Jinx. Amazing J was just kind of going ham on Darius. Clearlove got Skarner. Pawn got Gangplank. It was just... And Mako played like a god. Like, all of these things could have corresponded into... EDG got a god comp in terms of just champion select, and Bangkok Titans got things that were good in the meta a couple of patches ago. They got a Maokai, a Rek'Sai, Zed, Vayne, Braum. Strong champions, just champions that aren't as strong now as they were maybe a couple of months ago. And so maybe that's because Bangkok Titans, weren't used to playing on sort of the Juggernaut patch, or that's not really what they've been seeing. And I highly doubt teams were lining up to scrimmage with them in terms of getting them used to the comps and things like that. But they just got absolutely rolled and really showed how. I don't think it's like a full showing of EDG's power, just because again, Bangkok Titans isn't really a competition for them. So yeah, not really much to say about that game. Next we have, like, for me, what the game of the day was, which is Counterlogic Gaming against Flash Wolves. This game was so close. It was so unbelievably close throughout the entire thing. The meme coming around Worlds is that Stake just kind of feeds his lane, top lane. And a lot of the analysts, as well as me, I pointed out that Stake just is like the damage sponge. He's there to draw. He draws so much attention up top. Just because a lot of people think he's an easy kill and he dies so often. But Stake's kind of always in the game. In a weird way, he picks champions that don't fall behind that hard. And so he was on the Gnar. He got ganked. I think Smithy kind of camped his lane, came up and ganked, I think, 3 or 4 times in the first 5 minutes. And he stayed alive the entire time. And then once Smithy left, then Karsa came up and just ganked Zion a couple of times and got Stake ahead. And Zion wasn't really able to fully recover on the Darius, which was a little bit of an issue. All the other lanes were sort of even at that point. Bot lane, of course, winning a little bit just because they have Double Lift and Aftermoon. That's such a great synergistic bot lane. But they definitely had a protect the carry comp with the Alistar, the Lulu, and they were able to dive the backline with the Darius and the Elise. But CLG, at least in the early game, you were able to sort of see the I guess, lack of comfort playing with his Smithy. I'm guessing, again, due to the lack of practice that they've had with him since he was ruled out and they've been playing with Huhi. Uh, but I mean, I expect that to be fixed throughout, throughout as group stages continues. I don't see them really being challenged to get out of this group that hard. Uh, and again, they played really well solely. I just think like as Nick Smithy has to work his way back into a comfortable flow with the team. It wasn't super apparent. It wasn't like detrimental, but against higher level talent or higher level teams, it might be an issue. And then once they grouped as five, you sort of saw the control and everything like that. But CLG was even or down for quite a portion of the game. At least towards the late game, they were down quite a bit, and then they were able to pull it back at the end and push to win and win a couple of big team fights and just kind of won the game off of those. And then the last game of the day was Pain Gaming against Ku Tigers. This one was interesting just because I wanted to see how Ku Tigers, or how Pain Gaming rather, matched up against Ku Tigers. I thought, this is a really interesting matchup because Pain Gaming is very good in a laning sense and in a early game aggression sense, while that's sort of Ku's weakness in a sense, and as well as they're just so godly at mid to late game shot calling. And so you saw that throughout the game as well. Pain actually played really well in the early game, got a couple of dives, just played really well and solid in lane. And then once laning Pain was done and Ku grouped as five, you saw the difference in shot calling and the difference in just playmaking ability as a five-man core. Also, they allowed Gorilla to get Thresh, which you should never ever do because he's what I consider him the best Thresh player in the world. Prey also got Ashe, and Ku is a great team to play around a weaker, or not, I wouldn't say weaker, but a vulnerable AD carry. So the Ashe, the Kog'Maw, I mean, they're the ones that started the Juggernaut kind of composition, and so the Ashe allowed them to higher vision, to group as five, with the hawk shot, good initiation, all that kind of stuff, and they were able to protect her quite a bit, and so it allowed Prey to really kind of go ham, and then Kuro as well to kind of flow around the battlefield with Ahri. But yeah, once they started grouping as five, you saw the deficiencies in shot calling and sort of team objective-based play for Pain, and you saw the strength for Ku come out. I think Pain's actually going to do pretty well and have a good showing. I don't know how many wins they'll get, but I think they'll have a really good showing. And I think Ku's definitely on my watch list now coming up because they looked extremely strong. Again, though, it's still really early. We've only seen one game apiece from all 12 of these teams. But everything pretty much went how I expected it to go, with a little bit of variation here and there. But yeah, I'm very excited. It was a great day one, a lot of exciting matches. But yeah, my game of the day is definitely the Flash Wolf CLG game. And yeah, I think if you're gonna watch one game from day one, go ahead and watch that. But otherwise, see you guys later, and we'll be back for day two.